Wings, and then they're headed to their finals, the men's team as well. We'll talk that over with head coach Rick Ray. We want to invite you to join us here at Wings for lunch. They have their award-winning jumbo wings, and keep in mind on Mondays, those award-winning jumbo wings are just 59 cents. They have food and drink specials throughout the week, and in addition to the award-winning wings, they have a full menu. Freshly made burgers, they have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and much more. Their appetizer lineup includes the ultimate nachos, and of course the best sports programming around the world can be seen on the flat screens here at Wings, etc. We're in the Jackson location. We'll be back in Cape Girardeau next week, next Monday. The Red Hawks head men's basketball coach is here. Rick Ray, boy, tell us about everybody cramming and getting ready for finals, and it's a busy week for everybody, especially today.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for our guys to do what they need to do academically. We had Sunday off. We had the team over to my house for dinner. My wife, Brianna, did a great job of preparing some food for the guys and getting them set up to eat. We'll be off today as well. And then we'll come back on Tuesday, and we'll just come in and shoot a lot of free throws, and then we'll have our first real practice on Wednesday. So opportunity to rest our body and also rest our mind so they can concentrate on their finals.
You're going to need the free throw work. I think you missed 11 free throws in Carbondale the other night. That's been unusual for this team. They've been a really good free throw shooting team.
Yeah, and really uncommon. And, I know my staff talked to me about, pressure free throws. It got to them a little bit, and I said those wasn't pressure free throws in the first half. We had a 15-point lead, a double-digit lead. I didn't think we concentrated very well. So we're a good shooting team. There's no reason that we should be 19 to 30 from the free throw line, and guys going up to the free throw line that are good shooters. So I just think it's a lack of concentration, and obviously we got to make sure you performance on habits. So we'll get back in there and we'll shoot a lot of free throws because we just can't miss that many. We got lucky. Usually when you have that type of a free throw shooting performance, it ends up with a loss.
The one good thing about this year's team, that was an outlier. Normally you're much better from the free throw line.
Yeah, and I think we've done a really good job of that the past 2 seasons. To me, that's something that you have to target. You have to take advantage of those opportunities, and it's the only time that you can score, especially when you're down when the clock is stopped. So when you get an opportunity to score at the free throw line and you're behind, you can make up some advantage with the clock stopped, and you got to make sure that you go up and knock those free throws down.
So obviously everybody excited about the big win in Carbondale since the Red Hawks went to Division I in 1991. Of course, under Ron Shoemate, they were the Indians back then. Every trip to Carbondale, to SIU Arena, had resulted in a loss against the Salukis as a Division I, but you come out of there with a 75-69 victory. Before the game even starts, Justin Carpenter, who's having such a good season, coming off another double-double against Missouri, Kansas City, all of a sudden everyone hears the news that he is not going to play because of a concussion. Tell us about how it happened with Carpenter. What's his status? And then, what was the game plan going in, knowing, hey, you're already without Mark Laros, your 6'10 center. Now Justin Carpenter's out.
Yeah, obviously Justin was out with the concussion. Just a regular play in practice where he was going for a rebound and him and Milos collided and ended up with a concussion. He's been nauseous, been having headaches, really wasn't responding very well. So we went into concussion protocol. To this right now, he wasn't even able to come over to the house because he was still struggling with that. So hopefully, first thing is that he gets prepared because he's got finals this week, that he's able to do that. If not, we'll obviously go through the proper procedures and make sure we get him cleared so he can take those finals later. But as far as preparation, now you're going into a situation where you're probably playing one of the best centers that you'll play the whole season in Kavion Pippen. You already don't have Mark, who's out with mono, and now you don't have Justin Carpenter out as well too. So the first thing we had to figure out is how we're going to defend, because offensively there's things that we can take advantage of because of our skill level. But what we had to figure out how we were going to defend against Kavion Pippen. Well, they run a variety of ball screens.
Now explain who Kavion Pippen is. A guy that you recruited. He's their big and is related to Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, Kavion Pippen is a really talented center out of Three Rivers. He's obviously right outside of Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. 6'10", but probably got a 7'4" wingspan. He's averaging about 14 points a game for SIU, and they do a great job of trying to find him and throw the ball inside. Their offense is predicated about getting him post touches. And we had recruited him really hard. He actually has a girlfriend that goes here to Southeast Missouri State. So we thought usually that helps you in those situations.
Right.
So it didn't help in this situation. But we recruited him really hard, didn't get him obviously. And he's a really talented player, and they really force feed him in the post. So they run a variety of ball screens to try to get you to help, and then they throw the ball behind. So what we wanted to do was down it, or so-called ice the ball screens, and keep it on the outside third and not let the ball get into the middle. And so we did a good job of that defensively. We did a really good job of, like, our weak side defense. We told Milos and those guys, Isaiah Gable, Denzel Mahoney, just to front him and make them throw the ball over our head. And if you do your job and make them throw the ball over our head, then the rest of the defense will be there. You have to trust the defense. But if he's getting direct post feeds, we can't help you.
Sure.
So I thought our guys did a really good job defensively. And offensively for us, we made him guard the three-point line. It was really simple. We said
and that's something they did not want to have happen to them, right?
Yeah, they're one of the best teams in the nation in guarding the three-point line. They had held their teams at, I believe, 24% as a team from the three-point line. So they were number one in the Valley in three-point field goal percentage defense. So we wanted to stress that, hey, Kavion Pippen, we're going to make you guard our three-point shooters like Milos and Isaiah at the three-point line. We knew that they would never put him on Denzel Mahoney. So we knew that he would always be matched up against Isaiah or Milos. So it was real simple. We had Milos that ball screens and pop, and I told Milos, you don't have to do anything special. I said, this is real simple. You set a ball screen, you pop. If you're open, shoot it. If you're not open, pass it. And then go set another ball screen. If you're open, shoot it. If not, pass it. I think what happens when guys are out, they think they need to do something special.
Right.
On the offensive end, and really they don't need to do anything special. They just need to do what they do, and Milos is a good shooter and a good passer. So keep it simple, but if you go out there and you start trying to isolate and go one-on-one and things like that, that's not the game plan. So I thought those guys did a good job, but really, Eric, in that first 10 minutes of the game, we had guys wide open on pick and pop situations that we just didn't see. And it's frustrating because that's all you practice, for that day is throw the ball behind you on the pick and pop. And so we came off the ball screen and we did not throw the ball behind us, and we had guys wide open. And I thought they finally started to do that, and we found Denzel and Isaiah and Milos wide open behind us.
Milos Vranic, coach, finished that game playing center, 14 points, 6 rebounds, only had 1 turnover in 22 minutes, 2 of 3 from three-point range, one of his specialties, one of the reasons you recruited him and brought him here. How much did it help, or does it help with Milos, that you were in the same situation last year because of injuries to Trey Kellum? He had to go to the 5 last year, not planned before the season. How much is it helping him now to have to go to the 5 that he had to do it last year?
Well, first of all, with Milos, his mindset from this year compared to last year is so much different. Last year we had to plead and beg him to play that spot. And so it was like, hey, man, I didn't try to get Trey Kellum injured. That was not my goal. We didn't try to give Justin Carpenter a concussion. We didn't try to get, Mark Mono. So these are things that happen. You're the next biggest guy, so you have to do this for us. So his mindset and approach going into doing that now is so much different than it was last year. So this year he embraces it. I said, hey, it's an opportunity for you to get on the court and play minutes. To me, it doesn't matter what position you're playing, you want to be on the court. So his mindset has been so much better. And then I think he only played 8 minutes in that first half because of foul trouble. What he contributed really for our team was just on the bench, talking to our freshmen, talking to our newcomers and guys, and getting them through that first half. And for us to go out and perform the way that we wanted to play with the guy that we dictated our game plan around being out with foul trouble, and then Isaiah Gable going in there as a freshman and doing some of those same things, just really, our guys continue to step up. So, we made adjustments. We continue to figure and find things out, but I thought Milos did a good job of going out and trying to execute the game plan.
How much more of a leader is Milos this year compared to last year? That one transition year from junior college and the junior season for a lot of guys, it is a really big transition. It takes them a while to really get adjusted. And talk about how much basketball he played in the offseason, much more than most of your guys, right?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, when guys see a junior college guy, they think that guy is going to come in and just set the world on fire because he's played 2 years of junior college as opposed to an incoming freshman. But the fact of the reality is, if you look at all these junior college guys, it takes them a year to assimilate to things and try to get things where they understand what's going on at the Division I level. So you look at the way that Daniel Simmons is playing now and the way Milos is playing, it's because they had a year in our program. So unfairly, you think that those guys are going to come in and do really well right away because they're junior college guys, and it's really not true. And so what happens is they have a really good senior year because they finally start to figure some things out. Just like a lot of guys struggle their freshman season and they figure things out their sophomore season. So you see some of that success with Milos and with Daniel because of that reason. The next thing about it is I thought that, Milos came to me with this opportunity to play on the national team for Serbia. And so, first of all, it was just really difficult to make that national team. So for him to make that national team was a huge accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
But then he was worried about, hey, Coach, I'm going to be away from the team. I know you want to do some things here. And I said, hey, this experience that you'll have playing with the Serbian national team is way more valuable than what you could do if you was here, because we can only work with you 2 hours a week. And so if you're playing with the Serbian national team, you're working out with them 2 hours a day. And so you'll get the opportunity to play against really good competition, travel the world. Not only will it be a good basketball experience for you, but it'll be a good cultural experience for you as well. They were in China. They were in Taiwan. They were in all these different places. They were in Denver, Colorado Springs, working out. And so I just thought there's no way that he could pass this opportunity up. So he just got a chance to play a ton of basketball. He was already in shape when we started our fall workouts. He was a little tired when he first got here, and we gave him more time off than normal than everybody else. But I just thought it was such a valuable experience for him.
Without it being a critique of other Division I coaches, in your opinion, do you think there would have been some coaches of programs that would have said, nope, you got to be here?
Yeah, I think everybody's different. So I think it'd probably be maybe like 60-40 split, with 60% of the guys saying that, hey, you need to go do this, and 40% of the guys being more worried about what's going on in their program. But I think anytime a young man gets a chance to enhance himself, it'll be for me if like Denzel Mahoney had a chance to go play USA basketball. And I said, no, I don't want you. I want you here with the team and not having the opportunity to go play USA basketball. To me, that's nonsensical. So we wanted to make sure, hey, he's from Serbia. He gets a chance to play for that national team. He needs to get a chance to benefit from this. And I think our team ends up benefiting from it because he individually gets better as a basketball player.
Do you see a big improvement in him? And talk about what you see from his leadership, because I don't know that maybe last year Milos was a guy who's going to be talking to the freshmen.
Yeah, it's hard, for guys when they're trying to figure things out for themselves to be a leader.
Yeah.
So Milos is sitting there trying to figure out, how do I fit into it? What's my role? I'm struggling in some of these things I'm trying to overcome. So you end up so wrapped up in yourself that you don't have a chance to go outward and be a leader. So I think now the fact is Milos has some things figured out, so it allows him to be a leader. So he's doing a tremendous job now because we don't have any guys that have an experience. If you look at our team, there's only 4 guys coming back that ever played Division I college basketball on our team. And if you look at that, I mean, he was second in minutes of those guys coming back behind Denzel. So we needed him to be a leader, and he's really stepped up to the plate and been a willing guy. Some guys don't want any part of that. I shared a discussion that I read with Kevin Durant where they were talking about him needing to be a leader with the Golden State Warriors, and he's like, I don't want to be a leader with the Golden State Warriors. We already have Steph Curry. We have Draymond Green. I just want to go out there and ball out and get buckets. And he's in a position to do that because they have strong leadership from other guys. And so just because you're a good player doesn't mean that you're a leader. But Milos has embraced that and has done a really good job of trying to help our guys, grow and understand college basketball.
And as a head coach, explain how important it is for you to have leadership on the team, not just the coach leading. There's got to be somebody in that locker room leading.
And what you bring up there, the locker room, to me is what it's all about. I mean, we're around these guys 2 to 3 hours a day. And so if that 2 to 3 hours we're around them and then that other 22 hours that they're away from us, they're not doing any of the things that we ask them to do when the coaches are not around because we don't have 24-hour surveillance with them, then it doesn't mean anything. We need somebody when they're at the dorm or when they're at the apartment or when they're in the locker room and the coach is not around, hey, these are the things that coaches want. These are the things that we should be doing. Hey, this is the right decision. So if you don't have people around that are enforcing the things that you think are invaluable, the morals that you set for your team, having a moral compass for your team when the coaches are not around, then it doesn't mean anything.
That's Coach Rick Ray. We are at Wings Etc. in Jackson. It is the Red Hawks Coaches Show, Mondays at 12 noon. We'll be back in Cape the next 2 weeks, but still plenty of time for you to join us for lunch. And their lunch specials, their half-pound lunch specials, start at just $6.49 here at Wings Etc. One other thing about Milos, the ladies like Milos.
Well, I'm going to have to take your word for that. But
they do.
Okay, well. Yeah. Here's the one thing now, like, is he in the friend zone all the time, or do the ladies really like him?
Yeah, we need to investigate that a little bit more. It could be in the friend zone, and that's a bad place to be. There was a nice article written in the Southeast Missouri, and I can't remember if it was Josh Malott or Trent Singer the other day, on Daniel Simmons. All of the sudden, Daniel Simmons, the guy with maybe the ugliest shot in college basketball, Coach, it's not a slam. I mean, you can talk about his shooting motion, is 12th in the OVC in three-point shooting percentage. How does this happen?
Well, it's funny. I was with my youngest son, Mason, yesterday, and we had the team over. And when they were leaving, he told me, you know, Daniel's a senior, Dad. I said, yeah. I said, so he'll have to leave, you know, once he get done with this season. I was like, yes, sir. And he says, we want Daniel to leave. And I was like, why do we want Daniel to leave? He said, because he shoots like this. and I said, okay. So, you know, if you ever been around Daniel, first of all, he has confidence in his game. And I don't care what you're doing in life. If you don't have confidence in it, then you're not going to be successful. So the way that Daniel shoots is obviously unorthodox, and you would never want to teach anybody to shoot the way that he shoots. But first and foremost, he has confidence in his shot, and then he spends time in the gym shooting that shot. And I always refer to guys that didn't have the greatest looking shot. Reggie Miller didn't have the greatest looking shot. Larry Bird, you know, didn't have the greatest. Jamal Wilkes did not have a good looking shot. But they spent a lot of time in the gym perfecting that shot, and they had confidence in it. And that's the way Daniel is at this point in time. The other thing that kind of gets lost is Daniel's lost about 10 pounds from where he was last year. He was overweight last year, and he really decreased his body fat. So now he's able to go out there and play harder for us and not have to get subbed out and kind of take plays off that he did last year. So he's really done a good job of transforming his body, spending time in the gym. And it's not just the coaches. I mean, we tell him the things that we need to do, but once again, we're limited in what we can do with him. So when it's all said and done, if you don't have that intrinsic, that self-motivation, then there's nothing we can do with you. So we gave him the template and the blueprint of what he needed to do, but to get his credit, he went out and did it. He spent that time in the gym. He spent the time on the track getting in better shape.
And then all of a sudden, he's the third leading scorer on this team and is a little bit – we see progressively him becoming more of a disruptor on defense. I'm not going to say he's a lockdown defensive guy, but he's becoming more of a disruptor on defense. Would you agree?
Yeah, he's disruptive. I mean, like, it could be to the opposing team. It could be to the coaching staff. It could be to his players. He's disruptive, so there's no question about that. But, no, he's a physical guy. He's quick. He's strong. Sometimes he's just in the wrong places, but, you know, he's competitive. I mean, like, he's going to try to keep his guy from scoring. He's going to try to make sure that he's scoring. So he's always competitive. In our practice drills, he's always competing. So it means something to him if his guy scores on him or if he gets a rebound on him. So he's going to be a guy out there because of his physicality and his athletic attributes that can go out there and make a difference for us on the defensive end.
And I don't think there's anyone else on the team who, when his guy does something, immediately looks to you on the bench and starts talking to you.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's during live play.
Yeah,
it's
right
during live. I mean, I
say,
hey man, like the game is still going on, but I mean Daniel is probably the most unique person I've ever been around in college basketball. We were in Cancun, and it was during live play. Once again, we're going back on defensive transition. I mean, and it's a fast break. And sometimes he's so concerned about his playing time and things like that. So Ray Kowalski was sitting at the scores table ready to check in. He's going by him, and he's asking Ray, who are you getting? and because he's worried about Ray getting him. And so once Ray said that he's getting somebody else, he was good.
He
so
was all right.
Yeah, he sprinted back
I'm not
on
coming
defense. So, but everybody has their positives and their negatives. And right now, his positives far outweigh his negatives. Last year, it was kind of even, or maybe the negatives were up here. But Daniel is a fun guy. My wife absolutely loves Daniel. She talks to him all the time, and so sometimes I give her things to give him messages. I said, maybe you can tell him because he's certainly not listening to me. So maybe you can tell him some of these things. And then my son, Deacon, I'll give him some messages sometime to give to Daniel because he loves Daniel too. So, no, he is a guy that I'm happy for because, he had his trials and tribulations last year, but he's a guy who's really improved, not just on the court, but off the court and figuring out some of the things that we want in our program.
I've been with the women's team on their long road trip to Western Illinois, Ball State, and then Lawrence, Kansas. We're sitting in a restaurant in Muncie, Indiana, watching the UMKC game, and Daniel Simmons goes to the free throw line, and I got some of the women's players there, and we've got the game up on my phone, and the first question was, what's Daniel doing with his hair now? What's that about? What's that? What's going on?
Yeah, I can't answer what's going on with it. I mean, the first time it was when he first got here in the summer, it was just like twisted up a little bit, a little twist, and then it got longer, and then he put some kind of like, orangish blonde streaks in it and dyed a little bit. Now it's gotten a little longer, so now he's got a little French braid ponytail going on up top. So, I mean, the one thing that I always like, when things are going on, my assistants, my staff, they get frustrated with him. I said, hey, the one thing you got to realize now, Daniel is from Mississippi, so you're gonna have a little bit of a culture shock there. So,
and that's the thing, you know all about Mississippi, having coached in Starkville.
Yeah. So, but now Daniel's like a fun guy to be around. I mean, he's always joking, he's always playing around. He loves to come in and practice and compete. So, you're just going to have to figure out. Some of the times you just say, hey man, like. Hey, let's take it down a notch. Let's just calm down here and take it down a notch.
No, he is a fun individual. So, Coach, you build a 22-point lead in the first half against SIU. Tyler Smith-Peters hits a mid-court shot at the buzzer. All of a sudden, it's 14 at halftime. So it goes from 22 to 14. What are you talking about in the locker room at halftime?
Well,
because you knew they were going to make a run.
Yeah, what you want to do is you want to make your guys feel good about the performance that they had in that first half. And, sometimes, when Smith-Peters hit that three, it can become a momentum shift for the other team. And so maybe the crowd gets into it or those guys go into the locker room with some confidence. But the biggest thing to me is making sure our guys understand what they've accomplished thus far and how they've done it. So we just want to emphasize, hey, these are the things that we need to continue to do well. Here's some things that we need to shore up. And those guys realizing, hey, they're a good team. They're going to make a run. Now, it's like, how do we respond to that run? Do we, break down and just give in, or do we continue to try to find ways to go out there and make plays to keep it? And I thought in the second half, first of all, we just shot the ball way too quick. I mean, I said, hey, fellas, at one point in time out, I just put on the board a simple message, pass. I mean, I think it was maybe under the 8-minute media timeout. And I just say, hey, fellas, if you guys just pass the ball and share the ball to each other and get a quality shot under 10 seconds, I said they're going to run out of time.
Right.
I mean, even if we have bad defensive performances, but right now our offense is fueling what they're doing because we're making poor decisions on us sharing the basketball. So, but we're such a young and inexperienced team, we don't realize some of those things. We just kind of get caught up in some things. We were fouling, which is the worst thing that you can do when you have a big lead like that, because now they're in the bonus, and so every time we touch them, they're going to the free throw line, and that gives them an opportunity to score when the clock is stopped. So we're just making a lot of mental mistakes that we just haven't, been through before.
You and I talked before the season started about this is a team because of only 4 players having any Division I experience. This is the classic team in Division I basketball that when you started on November 10th, we talked about, man, you're going to be a much different team on January 10th than November 10th. Veteran teams, I don't know, maybe they peak earlier than younger teams, but you kind of knew. Tell us what you see from the first game where you're down double digits at home to Missouri to where you knock off UMKC and then go on the road and beat SIU.
Well, I think it's all about development. If we do our job as coaches, we're developing our guys individually and developing the team. But I think one key factor that kind of gets overlooked in all this is Jonathan Dalton. Jonathan Dalton is having a great season for us, and you're talking about the fact that's somebody we lean on. He's playing 30 minutes a game. And then on top of that, you got another guy that we got to give a huge credit to that doesn't get any credit is Donnie Lewis.
Yeah.
Donnie Lewis is a walk-on guy. And I know some of the staff over at Kentucky Wesleyan. And so one of the guys texted me and said, hey, am I reading this right? Did Donnie Lewis play 10 minutes for you guys? I'm like, yeah. He said, we wouldn't even let him walk on here at Kentucky Wesleyan, and he's playing minutes for you guys. And just he goes out there, and those guys just do a terrific job of taking care of the ball and passing the ball to our teammates and doing a really good job on the defensive end. So, I just give all the credit in the world to Jonathan Dalton, the way he takes care of the basketball and shares the ball. You need somebody like that to be unselfish. And those two guys have really been unselfish to help some of the rest of our team. But then also just guys starting to realize, hey, you've got to do some things defensively. You got to take it as a challenge. And I thought that was our biggest struggle is in these past two games, we've done a really good job in the first half of defending. And I thought that's been our biggest problem is now guys are taking it personal when somebody scores on them or them not jumping to the basketball. So we eliminated some of the things that we do so we can kind of work on our habits because I said our habits, our bad habits are going to get us beat. And so we just spent a lot of time defensively on simple things to affect our habits. But, when it's all said and done, our guys are willing workers and they're willing listeners. Because if they're not willing workers and listeners, it doesn't matter what we teach and what we preach and what we coach. If they're not willing to do the things that we ask them to do, then it doesn't mean anything.
All right, you got 12 teams that play basketball in the OVC. Each team has at least 2 point guards, and each team has multiple guards. And so are you taking care of the basketball? Are you sharing the basketball? There's a stat for that, and it's called assist-to-turnover ratio. And of all those guards that play in the Ohio Valley Conference, right now Jonathan Dalton is #1 in the league in assist-to-turnover ratio, kind of numbers behind what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's something that was a huge concern. Everybody knows that we lost a really talented point guard to transfer in Taj Edey. And we thought Taj was going to be a guy that could be special for us. So you go in from a situation where you got somebody who you think is going to be a guy that you can build your program around along with the really good freshman that we had last year in Denzel Mahoney and Taj, and now you're asking Jonathan to come in there and be thrust into that role. But I had confidence in Jonathan. We could have went out and tried to get a point guard, but I just said, hey, I trust that Jonathan Dalton's going to be a good player for us, and he's really proven to be a guy that we can depend on. So I'm happy for him because anybody's ever been around Jonathan, he's an unbelievably good kid. Just always is doing things the right way, is serious about his academics, cares about the team. So I'm really happy for him, but he continues to be a guy that if we don't have him on the court, it's a problem. And he's really done a good job of distributing the basketball and finding people and being really unselfish.
Jonathan Dalton, 34 minutes against SIU, only committed 1 foul, 4 points, 4 assists, not a single turnover, only attempted 1 shot from the field as he distributed the ball and continues to lead the OVC in assist-to-turnover ratio. Before we take a timeout, we'll come back and talk about how you handled things down the stretch. Big lead against SIU. They made a run on you. I do want to say this. We know you're not eligible for the OVC postseason tournament. You're eligible to hang a banner, though. You can win the OVC regular season championship, but they got nothing to say about that, right?
Yeah, and I tell you what, a lot of credit to our guys because their attitude could be, hey, we don't have anything to play for this season. We're just going to pitch it in. And our guys, I always say either we recruited the right guys or we didn't recruit the right guys. And to their credit, through all the things that we've been through, they continue to go out, compete, and play hard and do the things that we ask them to do, and that's a credit to them.
Belmont has looked pretty good here. They did lose some players. Murray State has had a couple of quality wins. Tennessee Tech has looked good in the early season. It doesn't look like there's a super team in the league. That's why I'm saying that. I mean, you guys, is that a motivating factor for you guys? You say, hey, you guys can go out and win the whole thing, and they're going to let you hang a banner in the Show Me Center.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Eric, I haven't talked about anything in regards to the OVC with our team yet.
Okay.
And because we just concentrate on the non-conference and trying to get our guys better, the only thing we talk about in regards to the OVC is we don't have any chance to be good in the OVC if we're not developing in the non-conference. So our guys know that. But I haven't had a chance to watch any of the OVC teams. I got a chance to see Murray State just because we were getting ready for SIU. And
right.
I got a chance to see a little bit of SIU-E because we were getting ready for SIU. And so unless that OVC team is playing against a common opponent that we're getting prepared for, I really don't pay attention up until that point in time. So I'm just always just concerned about the team that we're playing next. So maybe that's a good trade or a bad trade. But I just think that we need to focus in on us and our next opponent.
The next opponent is going to be the Bradley Braves coming up for Southeast. Three more, or the Kansas State Wildcats after Bradley, and then it's St. Louis, and then Belmont is the OVC opener. So 3 more games for Southeast Missouri State before they get ready to head to or before they host Belmont. So it'll be Kansas State Saturday, Bradley will be the following Wednesday, and then the Redhawks will travel to St. Louis. We'll take a timeout. We'll talk more with Coach Ray. Big leads down the stretch against UMKC and SIU Carbondale. Get Coach Ray's thoughts on how his team closed those games out when we come back. We're at Wings Etc. in Jackson. Redhawks Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN.
Everywhere these days, but there's only one place for award-winning jumbo wings, bigger beers, and better food and drink values.
Next Monday at 12 noon with Redhawks head coach Rick Ray. We will talk about the Kansas State game. Redhawks play at Kansas State on Saturday night. So that game will be in Manhattan. It'll be a 7 o'clock tip-off. And we want to continue with Coach Rick Ray here about the SIU game, but we want to remind you that on Mondays, the award-winning jumbo wings at Wings Etc. are just 59 cents. Their dining rooms are filled with all of the best sports programming on their high-def televisions. And don't forget, on the weekends, The games run late, and they're open late at Wings Etc. They're open 7 days a week. They have food and drink specials throughout the week, and their daily half-pound lunch specials start at just $6.49. So if you're thinking about lunch, make sure it's Wings Etc. Red Hawks head coach Rick Ray is here. SEMO coming off a big win over SIU Carbondale on Saturday, 75-69. So you've got a double-digit lead in the second half of the game. SIU makes its run. What's the message to your team? Because I'm sure you're telling them, hey, they are going to make a run. They made a run. Denzel Mahoney hit just a back-breaking three-pointer late for your ball club, one of those demoralizing type threes. What about the way your team handled the run that SIU made at the end of the game?
Yeah, I thought defensively we didn't do a really good job of handling their small lineup. And the one thing after they made a run, I reminded our guys that this is something that we're normally playing, our so-called small ball. This is something that's new for SIU. I said they can't be better at playing small ball than we are. I said, so let's just get back to doing the things and spreading people out and driving and kicking that we can do. And then defensively, we just got to make sure that I thought we were over-helping because we're used to helping on ball screen and dives. Well, they didn't have any bigs in, so we were switching everything. So we didn't need to help as much as we were helping on dives, and then we were giving up some of those threes because of that. So,
and after they went 2 of 13 from three in the first half, second half they went 9 of 15. They were red hot.
Yeah, and I thought it's mostly because we were over helping. They were in the post, but they were posting like a 6'5", forward instead of Kavion Pippen. I thought some of the ball screens, it's not Kavion Pippen diving, it's just a 6'3" guy, just switch it. So I thought we were over helping. And I think once we made those adjustments and guys, because you build habits, and so now ball screen happens in a dive, they expect that dive, they go help. So we just had to get their mindset different of we were over helping. And I think once we did that, we did a much better job. But the one thing that we continue to do is just we fouled them. We fouled early. They got to the free throw line, and I just think we did a poor job of defending without fouling.
And Barry Hinson, quite frankly, said he was surprised that you went with your small lineup. I mean, it surprised him. And by doing it with the small lineup, first of all, they had to try to adjust on the fly. Secondly, it limited the minutes of Kavion Pippen. 18 minutes, that may be the fewest minutes he's played all year. They couldn't afford to have him out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to put him in the bind. And so, to me, when they decided to go small and sub out Kavion Pippen, that was a win for us. Because, we just didn't have the personnel to deal with him probably over a 25 to 30-minute stretch. We would be able to guard and defend him for, that 18 minutes that he played. But I think over the course, if they had stuck with it, he would have caused more problems for us on the defensive end. So we were able to do that. But I can understand that we were putting him in pick-and-pop situations that he just simply couldn't guard because of our guys like Isaiah Gable and Milos Vranic that can shoot the basketball. So obviously that's a decision that he had to make. But at some point in time, if you look at our personnel, we have to play small because Justin Carpenter, even if we had him, doesn't play 40 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, from 10 to 15 minutes a game, we were going to be small.
So you look at the way that you guys shot the basketball, 12 out of 26 from three-point range. You were kind of middle to lower third early in the season for three-point percentage as a team, and suddenly you vaulted up to number 2 in the league. You were right there at the top in three-point shooting last year, and you had some turnover. Does it surprise you that you're the number 2 three-point shooting team in the league right now?
Well, it surprised me that we weren't up there from the very beginning. That's something that we recruit to. We want to recruit guys that can shoot the basketball. But I think when it's all said and done, it's just about shot selection.
Yeah.
Trying to get these young guys to understand what's a good shot and what's a bad shot. And we just got done playing at UMKC, and it's just huge now because of analytics about taking two-point jump shots. It's the worst shot in basketball, whether it be in the collegiate level or the NBA. And so we went through and we tracked all of our, two-point jump shots and all the two-point jump shots for UMKC. So in our game for us against UMKC, we were 0-8 on two-point jump shots. And UMKC was 1-9 on two-point jump shots. And so I said, it's not hard to figure out, fellas, for us offensively, don't take them. And then defensively, we want to make people take two-point jump shots. And so there was another stat that came out that shows that the Houston Rockets, they only shoot 7% of their shots or 2-point jump shots, and they're leading the NBA with the best record, and especially out west. Whereas the Oklahoma City Thunder, they take a third of their shots or 2-point jump shots, and they're like 11 and 13 and out of the playoffs right now. So we just want to keep emphasizing about our guys like, hey, this is what we want. We want layups, we want paint touches, and then we want open threes, in that order. And so our guys are starting to figure those things out, and that's starting to help us with our quality of shot.
You shoot 44% from the field. You hold SIU to 39.7, so right at 40%. You had to be pleased with that. Anytime that you can keep a team under 40% shooting, you got to like it.
Yeah, our goal is 42% or less that we want to do as far as field goal percentage defense, and for three-point shooting, 30% or less is what we want. So, we reached that goal, and a lot of it had to do with the fact of how well we defended in the first half. Defensively, in the second half, we weren't as good as we need to be. But over the whole course of the game, if you combine the first and second half statistics, we did what we needed to do.
One of the other benchmarks, you always want to make more free throws than the other team attempts. Check. You made 19 free throws out of 30. They went 8 of 15, so you made 19. They attempted only 15 on their home floor.
Yeah, and that's a huge stat for us. I mean, because one, it means you're getting to the free throw line, and not only are you getting to the free throw line, you're making them. We didn't do a great job of that in this game. But the other part is you're guarding without fouling. You don't want to send people to the free throw line. You want to keep them off, and you want to keep your guys out of foul trouble.
Denzel Mahoney, 18 points, 4 rebounds. He goes 3 of 4 from three-point range, Coach, and all of a sudden, not only is he the leading scorer in the Ohio Valley Conference, he's up to 6th in the league in three-point shooting percentage, and he's one of the best free throw shooters and can get into the paint seemingly whenever he wants to. What a nightmare to try and guard this guy.
Yeah, I think all those stats really say that he's probably pretty good. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy, but no, Denzel Mahoney is a guy. I think some people talk about, like I've talked to some NBA guys already, and they talk about athleticism. But to me, athleticism is expressed in different ways. So he's not like a huge jumper like Antonius Cleveland. He's really not the fastest guy, like maybe a Ladarius Brewer. But what he is strong. And you're not going to stop him from getting to a point. And so if you're going to try to stop him from getting to that point, you're probably going to foul him in your attempt to do so. So he's a guy, to me, that just gets bumped and hit all the time on all his drives. And he just plays through them. And I think a lot of times he doesn't get those fouls because every single time there's some sort of confrontation, he's never the guy going back. I mean, the other guy is going to be going back, and so they don't call those as much because he doesn't flail and do all those things. But he is just – and I think he went the first 10 minutes of the second half against SIU where he didn't get a field goal attempt, and it didn't bother him. So I just think that
is that an evolution for him?
Yes. Well, I think it's for anybody. When you're leading the OVC in scoring, and you play the first 10 minutes of any time, and you don't get a field goal attempt, you might start saying, "Hey, man, pass me the ball." And so, like, he may say that, but he doesn't say it in a way where he gets, on his teammates, or it causes any sort of a confrontation. But I didn't realize that, and we called a play to get him a touch because we need to have him touching the ball. Once again, I'm not the brightest guy, but if you got the guy leading the OVC in scoring and he hasn't got a field goal attempt in 10 minutes, we probably need to run something for him.
Now, we can check with Jeff Hansa, the sports information director, who, by the way, his lovely wife Terry is visiting. She is at her first coach's show today. But we could check with Jeff Hansa. I think the last Red Hawk to lead the OVC in scoring was Roy Booker. I mean, he played 1 year for SEMO. I know he led the league in scoring, but that's been quite a while ago. Roy Booker, and he may have been the last the Red Hawk to lead the OVC in scoring, and that was I believe that was Gary Garner. So it's been a while since a SEMO player has led the league in scoring.
Yeah, and Eric, I don't know who's more insulted by this, but that is Jeff's mom back there.
What did I say? Did I say his wife?
Yes.
Oh, his mother. I'm sorry. All right. Well, I'm glad you're there I'm glad you're the overseeing person to monitor what I'm saying. His mother, Terry, is here. I'm very sorry. His wife is lovely too, by the way.
Yeah, and his wife might have been starting to question, like, who's Hans seeing on the side here.
Yeah, wait. So the UMKC game, Coach, let's talk a little bit about that. You put 91 points on the board. You shoot 48% again, 12 3-pointers in the basketball game. Your thoughts on UMKC at the Show Me Center?
Well, I think the first thing you look at that jumps out to you is we had 28 field goals, I believe, and on those 28 field goals, we had 21 assists.
That's unheard of.
On those field goals, yes. I mean, so it means that our guys shared the basketball. Specifically, Jonathan Dalton in that game had 10 assists and only 2 turnovers, and that's against a team that presses all the time. And so I thought we did a good job. I think we only had 10 turnovers that game, and if you watch that game, 10 of those turnovers, I think probably 5 of them was 5-second calls of us not being able to inbound the basketball either underneath our own basket or full court. And it was funny, after the game, I talked to Denzel about, hey, do we need to change something that we're doing as far as getting the ball in versus press for future references? And he's like, no, I don't think so. He says, like, guys were open, but I just wanted to throw the ball to Jonathan. And I was like, well, let's have a discussion during the game, and I would have told you, hey, let's throw it to the first person that's open after the third 5-second count. Let's maybe do that. But it's funny the way guys think and, what's in their head that you think let's throw it to the first person. But, I thought UMKC really did a good job in the second half. Some of the things that they did offensively that gave us problems that we struggled with. But we really scored the ball well against them, and I just thought, when teams press you, it always bothers me when teams press and you get it across half and you just throw the ball back out and set your offense. And I just don't believe in that. If a team is going to press me and is going to press us, like when we get the ball, we're going to attack you. So if you got the gall to try to press me, then we're going to shove it down your throat and try to get open threes and layups. And so to me, we wanted our guys in that attack mode that, hey, you guys are too good, you're too skilled to let a team press you. And if they're going to press you, then we're going to make them pay at the end of that press. And I thought our guys did a really good job of that.
They hit 15 3-pointers. That had to concern you a little bit. Yeah,
and I think, just assignments. Our guys, they shoot a lot of threes. If you look at their stats, they've taken 150-something more threes than their opponents. And so that's something that they do. And Kareem Richardson is a good friend of mine. I was in his wedding. We worked together at Indiana State. He worked for Rick Pitino at Louisville. So they believe in that pressing and shooting threes. And so we just did a poor job of hey, we're helping too much. And that's hard because what you do is you tell your guys to help, be there for each other. Then all of a sudden now you're telling them, hey, no, don't go help on that because all they're trying to do is get you to help so they can shoot a three. So getting them to change that mindset in a short amount of time is difficult.
Red Hawks are going to play at Kansas State on Saturday night. We'll talk a little bit about Bruce Weber and what to expect from the Kansas State Wildcats when we come back. Red Hawks riding a 4-game winning streak after their win over SIU. Back to wrap things up at the Coach's Show from Wings Etc. in Jackson with Coach Rick Ray after this on SEMO ESPN.
Size does matter, and no one knows it better than Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Wings
Coach Rick Ray from Wings Etc. in Jackson. It is the Red Hawks Coaches Show, and don't forget, on Mondays, their award-winning jumbo wings, just 59 cents at Wings Etc. And maybe you may not be in the mood for wings. Their menu is extensive, and it includes their freshly made juicy burgers, their wraps, their sub sandwiches, quesadillas. If you're going the salad route, they have plenty of entree salads, including their big grilled chicken sandwich, or salad. That's a big favorite of Mike Rennick. They have smoked ribs and more. Their appetizer lineup includes their ultimate nachos, and of course their daily half-pound lunch specials start at just $6.49. Red Hawks head coach Rick Ray. So this 4-game winning streak that you're on, it has to feel pretty good. But I don't know. Do you talk to your team? I know coaches, they don't ever talk about streaks. They don't ever talk about anything other than, okay, here's what we're doing now.
Yeah, I haven't brought it up. I'm sure they're aware of it, but it's something that I don't talk about. We just talk about, what we need to do day by day in order to get better. And I think if you have that approach, then I think that helps you overall. But, I mean, to say that those guys are unaware of it is, probably not true at all.
You've coached against Bruce Weber, I'm sure, several times over the years. He was at SIU, the University of Illinois, now at Kansas State. What do you get when you face a Bruce Weber-coached ball club?
Well, the first thing you're going to get is a disciplined, well-coached team. I've known Coach Weber for a long time. I obviously worked for Matt Painter at Purdue, who, by the way, congratulations to him, got his 300th win last night. So I got a chance to watch some of that game against IUPUI. But, so I kind of come from that family tree because obviously Matt Painter was an assistant for Bruce Weber. Bruce Weber was an assistant coach when Matt Painter played at Purdue. Then you talk about the people that worked for him. Chris Lowry is a guy who used to be a head coach at Southern Illinois as well. Used to be here at SEMO as an assistant coach as well, too. So that staff.
When I was going to SIU, he was the point guard on the team for Rich Herron, Chris Lowry. Socks all the way up to the top of the knee, man.
Yeah, and was a really good player, too.
Yeah, he was.
So you're going to go out a team that's just not going to beat themselves. And, for us, I talked to our team about the fact that, we need to beat a quality, sound, disciplined team like a SIU because I thought we struggled against Evansville. Evansville was a physical team. They were really well coached, and I didn't think we did a good job against that team. So now Kansas State is going to be another team that's going to be really well coached. They're going to be sound. They're going to be disciplined. So we got to make sure that, hey, they're not going to make the mistakes. They're not going to beat themselves. So we, in turn, got to make sure we're the same way. We're sound. We're disciplined. We're not making bad decisions.
I'm guessing too early to tell if Justin Carpenter is going to be an option on Saturday.
Yeah, we won't know that. Hopefully, with us having a whole week off, that he can come back and be able to play. But if he's not, we just got to figure out a way. I know my staff was lamenting on it, and I just said, hey, we can't go out. It's not free agency. It's not the NBA. We can't call somebody up or pick somebody up. We got to figure out a way to play with the guys we got. Our team is a reflection of our staff. And so if our staff and myself are concerned about the personnel and if we could do some of the things when we get ready to play SIU, then that's the way they're going to feel. And so to me, it's not my job is to make sure our guys have confidence in the game plan that we put together because we spent hours upon hours upon hours looking at film trying to figure out the best way in order to set them up for them to succeed. And so if we go in there nervous and worried about it, then our players are going to be nervous and worried about it. So, I just don't let our staff get consumed with those things. We got to make sure that, hey, we got confidence in what we're doing. Those other guys are good players. We'll figure out a way. And I think our guys kind of they lead. They go by off of what we do. And so I think they did a tremendous job of that against SIU.
And for anybody who does not know, sitting just behind the coaches on these bus rides, everybody's got a laptop. All the coaches have laptops, and, man, they are just going over film. It's a relentless job. It really is. Yeah,
and for my assistants, too, they know that my expectations when I sit down and start talking to them about the opposing team that, I want to know all the information. Now, I may not give all the information to our team because I think it's too much, But we as coaches, we got to be prepared for everything. And so the only way we can be prepared for everything is to make sure that we know what's going on and that we watch all that film. And, you know, it's funny that one time, I mean, it was during the timeout. I think it was Daniel. Daniel asked, you know, Coach, why can't we go over this screen instead of going under and things like that? I said, we can. I said, we most certainly can. I said, all you have to do is come with me in my office and watch film every day until 3 o'clock in the morning and then get up for 6:45 a.m. practice. And when you start doing that, you can tell me all what you think about, like, how we're going to guard this screen.
And what was his response to that?
He said, I'm good.
All right, we'll end it on that, a mic drop from Coach Rick Ray. Coach, thanks so much. We'll see you in Manhattan on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
All right, Redhawks will play 7 o'clock, Kansas State University in Manhattan. We'll get you back into regular ESPN radio programming, the Russillo Show coming up next. So long, everybody, from Wings, etc. in Cape.